You know, I've been alright. My partner works from home, so I've been under strict instructions not to bother her. So a lot of headphones has been going on. Kind of cramps my new style where, I dance to get into a video when I can't just blast music out. Because last time that was real fun. God, I liked it so much. How are you passing the time? Are you worried about something? Like bills? Oh wait, maybe during this time of global pandemic where we're not allowed to leave home, we should suspend all bills. Because it's not like money's real. Money's a thing we made up, and maybe it shouldn't exist anyway. But let's explore these ideas. We got the guillotine, you better run. Front of us. We know you could have stayed home, just cried and cussed. So the problem, people can't go out. There are a lot of jobs that can be done from home. Emails, designing, advanced computers make remote workspaces a lot more accessible for even small offices. The problem is, demand is going to go down if people cannot go out and shop and such. And it's the kind of health risk where we can't go out. We can't go to conventions. We can't go to small businesses. Otherwise, we risk spreading an infection and getting it to the ones that we love. But also, there are several million jobs in America that depend on going out, being in a restaurant, being in the service industry, being in a factory, that can't be done remotely from home. Allison Kilkenny talks about this in the newest episode of Light Treason News, where she talks about how it's going in the New York quarantine. And Allison is an actress and activist, but she goes to several shows and she makes her money by doing live performances in New York. Live performances which are, until further notice, cancelled. But day 2 of staying inside and not being able to make money, she got her internet bill right on time. Why the hell are bills still a thing? If people can't work, people can't pay their bills. Why do we have these bills? The Trump administration has opened up lots of money to give to businesses to help them with this hard time, to protect our economy, but none of that money is going to the people. But also, if they didn't have bills, none of that money would have to. And the problem with that money going to businesses is that they're going to airlines. And one such airline used almost all of their relief money to buy back stock and not to help their employees. Maybe we shouldn't be giving these fucking crooks money. But of course, there's some fucking crooks in the White House, so it only makes sense that they'd give more fucking crooks fucking money. Fuck. What? You weren't aware that the Trump administration was giving money to anyone? Well, yeah, that's another problem. This administration has been very bad with information and messaging. And 20 days ago, the president called this whole thing a hoax. I hate it. But of course, giving money to corporations hasn't made those corporations stop charging people for things. It hasn't helped people pay bills. The closest thing to actually help people is that they're not shutting off people's water. They're postponing that during the crisis. Oh good.
Postponing.
The real solution that would help real people, and even some corporations, but we're going to focus on the fact that it would help actual people, is to suspend all billing. You might be saying, Ray, that sounds super vague. Well, let me be more specific. Suspend all electric, rent, mortgage, water, internet, and electricity. Suspend all of those bills until further notice. People are not allowed to charge for housing. People are not allowed to charge for their monthly payment. I would even probably take it as far as Amazon and streaming services. No one's allowed to charge a monthly bill. Every monthly bill is just to be scratched off the record for March and April, and as long as this crisis continues. You may think this could hurt the economy, but as we learned this past week, they don't have to open the stock market. We don't have to open up trading. Close down trading. Like, oh, we're so worried about hearing about it. They have an off switch. The market, when it gets bad, has an off switch. It doesn't have to crash. It doesn't have to move. Their numbers are completely fake. The stock market isn't real. The stock market is rich people putting in money and congratulating themselves and getting richer. And it is so fragile that probably these words said by the president would make it crash. That's how completely fake it is. If billions of dollars disappear because someone says some mean words, those $1 billion never existed. You're not protecting our economy, you're protecting a shadow, an excuse to give billionaires more billions. And let's face it, who do you pay your water bill to? Who do you pay your electric bill to? Who do you pay your rent to? Big corporations. Here in Cedar Rapids, we have Alliant. The city runs our water. Billion-dollar corporations own my home loan. They own my mortgage. And they can take a hit. They don't have to get paid. A mortgage essentially is giving someone a home and then making them pay twice the amount for that home over a 30-year period. They're still going to get paid a long time over that period. What should happen is that the mortgage is suspended. They scratch it off the books. Whatever the normal monthly payment, morally, including the normal monthly interest, is just scratched off the book and assumed paid. And that way people don't have to make up, people don't have to have twice as much money, because a lot of people have to live week to week anyway, and just postponing those bills will just make it harder on them in the long run. But scratching off those bills will help them greatly so they can focus on their family, they can focus on enjoying themselves, they can focus on staying healthy, they can focus on cooking healthy meals for their family and taking care of each other and educating themselves on proper steps to protect themselves from this global pandemic. If all bills are postponed, that also helps small businesses. Small businesses still would have to pay what employees work when they work, but they wouldn't have to pay their insurance, they wouldn't have to pay their own rent or mortgage, they won't have to pay their electric, they won't have to pay their water, just like everybody else. That's the beauty of universal programs. Everyone is treated equally and benefits equally from the universal program. The mortgage company wouldn't get its mortgages in for the month, but they also wouldn't have to pay their electric, they wouldn't have to pay their own mortgages, their own debts, they wouldn't have to pay for their electricity that they have to use when their people remotely work from home. And it's still possible that people will lose their jobs and won't be able to make their mortgages. We should make it illegal for people to lose their jobs during this month as well. But, you know, whatever. I'm already pie in the sky with this, with the US government. But the people who lose things during this crisis will be in a much less off bad shape than otherwise. There will be so many people that are worrying about how they pay their bills now that this is a way we can help all of them without everyone going to Patreon and going to GoFundMes and asking for money from the other people who also are strained for cash right now because we happen to be in a recession anyway. Saudi Arabia did a whole flooding the market with oil thing, so at least gas is cheaper, but also that's bad for our economy? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Our big fake economy is hurt by gas being cheaper. Oh my god. So on top of the stock market being pretty fake, there's another phrase that I learned from Cody Shody. Money's a thing that we made up, and that it isn't real. Even in the days where the dollar was backed by gold, or we used gold as currency, gold is made up. The value of gold is not real. It's something that we impose on it. It is as much a fiat currency as our cotton dollar. And you may be thinking, well, without money, I'd have to carry around stuff and barter. And no, I don't know why people do that. Stop. People always assume when I say we don't need money and it's not real that we should go right to a barter system. Incorrect. We go to a needs system. We even can still have cash, but for the things that we need, like housing and electricity, we just don't charge for. If the stock market just stopped existing, our economy would still be here. If we stopped using money altogether or switched currencies, everything you own, you would still have. You'd still have your books, your bookshelves, your DVDs and video games. You'd still get electricity. We'd still have the resources and the manpower to do that sort of thing. We'd just have to tell it to happen. Right now, we're counting on money to just make things happen, and often government has to step in and flood something with cash in order to make it happen. Instead of flooding something with cash, we just flood with people. We just allocate our resources and manpower in a way so that we can facilitate our needs. Money is not only unnecessary, but money is not the best way to allocate the resources to who needs it. Because everyone should have a home, everyone should have electricity, everyone should have the internet, everyone should have access to utilities and libraries, except when they're closed because of the quarantine. And everybody wants those things. So tying up those dollars and those things in the economy is an unnecessary expense of labor and people's manpower when we can just have it taken care of. You may not be with me right away, but France is with me. Macron has suspended all bills in France for the people. And we're going to see how that works there. I would rather see how it works here with our people in our states so that terrible things don't happen to one another and we don't have 1,000 Kickstarters of people that don't want to lose their home and don't want to get evicted. Certain states do have a moratorium on evictions, but they should have a moratorium on the bills themselves to make sure that all of the people are secure and safe. And we don't even have to argue about the points about whether or not we should have money or whether or not there'd be another system now. We need to focus on the things that help people now and the things that are possible now. And it is possible to suspend everyone's bill. The government has that power. During World War II, the United States took over factories. The United States government had the Ford plants making planes instead of cars. Every 61 minutes, the Ford plant in Flint, Michigan completed a plane, and that helped win World War II. It is a time of crisis. We can convert makeup factories to making hand sanitizer, we can get out soap, we can get out medicine, but the most effective way to do those things is to just do it through the government, and not by spending billions of dollars of government money on privately owned things that then don't have a guarantee and will charge people for the service anyway. So you can do it now, in quarantine. You can help push for this change. You can tweet at Donald Trump. You can tweet at your local senators. You can just Google, who are my senators and who are my representatives? You can send them letters. You can fax them for free online. You can go through online faxing. I'll have a form letter for you to fill out. You can fill in the name of your representative. You can add any reasons that you think or really believe in. Or you can even take my form letter and change it in the comments and so that other people can use your form letter as well. And you don't have to just do this once, you can do it every day. And not only that, but you can give their offices a call, which is very, very effective. I don't know if the offices are even open now. They've suspended. And even if they're not able to convene until this crisis is over, then we can still suspend previous payments of bills as well. If this crisis passes, and it does hurt thousands of people, we can still talk to our congressmen about this program and make it standard for the next such quarantine or the next emergency or the next giant economic downturn, making our government work for the best interest and the support and the health and safety and prosperity of its people, of us, of we the people. Thank you very much for watching this far. Thank you for tweeting. Thank you for whatever you do. I'm Ray Richards, the Sugar Ray. I put these thought rays on here, and I hope you enjoy these thoughts and there's something for you to think about. I don't want to argue with people about any of these points. I want people to mobilize themselves for action, which they can do from home. This isn't all I do. I work retail, so as of now, my job isn't canceled and I still need to face the public, but I do run a Patreon where I talk about my fiction. These are 2 such covers that I have, and this is one actual prototype book that I have of short story collections. It's one of 4 that I'm making. They will not be sold on the internet. They might be Patreon perks if people are actually interested in them. Otherwise, you know, when we're allowed to be in groups again, I want to sell them in conferences and public readings. But I don't know if those are going to happen anymore. This is Veronica Venom. It's a story that was originally published on lasertime.com. You can read any and all and most of my stories now at my Patreon if you choose to support me. I do appreciate it, but also I understand at this time because we don't all have cash and we all can't just work at home. So take care of yourself and please be nice to each other.